ZAMCOM Radio, your trusted source for the latest news and updates from across Zambia and around the world.
Professor Kazhila Chinsembu, and this being your first interview in 2025. So I would love to find out from you who Professor Kazhila Chinsembu is to our dear listeners, for those who don't know who the Professor Kazhila Chinsembu is.
Thank you very much. As you rightly said, my name is Kazhila Chinsembu. I'm the Director General of the Higher Education Authority. Previously, I served as a professor, a full professor of molecular biology and drug discovery at the University of Namibia, where I worked for 22 years. And before that, I worked at the University of Zambia as a lecturer from 1996 to 2002. And before that, I worked also as a research scientist for the International Center of Insect Physiology and Ecology based in Nairobi, Kenya. At the University of Zambia, I studied biological sciences. I went to Zambezi Secondary School in Zambezi district, and then I was the best student at Zambezi Secondary School, and then I got admitted to the University of Zambia in 1995. I'm from a very poor background. My parents were very poor, but because of free education, I managed to transform my life story from one of tragedy to one of triumph. I suffered from childhood polio when I was very young, so I walk with a limp. My right leg is slightly smaller than the left one, but as I said, because of education, I managed to change my story from one of tragedy to one of triumph. So in short, that is what Professor Kazhila Chinsembu is.
So Professor, the Higher Education Authority has an expanded mandate as contained in the Article of 2021. So how is the authority going about implementing this mandate, and what is the importance of this mandate?
So the Higher Education Authority is a statutory body created out of an Act of Parliament, the Higher Education Act of 2013, as amended again in 2021. Our mandate is twofold. Number one, we advise the minister on any aspect of higher education. We develop policy to program higher education in our country, and we also regulate higher education institutions. So on one arm, we develop and recommend policy on higher education to the government. We advise the minister and or the government on matters of higher education. And then secondly, we regulate higher education. We register private higher education institutions such as colleges, universities. We accredit learning programs. We do inspections to check that higher education institutions are providing quality higher education in the institutions that they have. So that is what the Higher Education Authority does.
Okay, so Professor, how important is the institution, especially the higher education, ensuring that all higher learning institutions adhere to providing quality services?
So that is important because, as you know, higher education is the catalyst for development. We would like to use higher education to fight poverty. We would like higher education to provide solutions for the economy. We would like higher education to create new knowledge that can be converted into goods and services. To do that, higher education must meet the standards that we set. So we set standards for higher education so that the quality of higher education is assured. So our job is, we are a quality assurance agency to make sure that all the institutions in our country provide higher education that meets the minimum standards. And that is important for us as a nation, because if higher education does not meet the correct standards, then we will not produce the necessary human resource or person power to develop our country.
Okay, so last year, Professor Kazhila, in November, you raised concern on some universities enrolling students without minimum requirement. How is the institution dealing with this issue?
So we continue to carry out inspections of students who are enrolled in higher education institutions in our country. We conduct inspections to check the enrollment status, and particularly we are interested because it is a requirement that a student who is enrolled in a higher education institution must have minimum of 5 O-levels or better. So we check for this standard. This is a pre-entry requirement, and any student that does not meet the minimum requirement, pre-entry requirement of 5 O-levels should then enroll in a TVETA institution. So there is a path for those that do not meet the minimum requirement. If they cannot enroll into college or university because they do not have the 5 O-levels, there is a different path for them to enroll into programs that are under TVETA. So the 5 O-level requirements is the minimum requirement for enrolling into college and into university, and we make sure that that standard is followed.
Okay, so last year you said people are obtaining degrees so easily, as if they're just buying groceries from supermarkets, like buying sugar. So how are you ensuring that this issue of people obtaining degrees easily is not done frequently, like the way they used to obtain these degrees last year, as if they're just buying groceries from supermarkets?
Yeah, so the question that we are worried about is that of just increasing enrollment into higher education institutions. Our worry is that most of the higher education institutions are more concerned about increasing enrollment and not concerned about the quality and the relevance of education that they provide. And in that case, we sometimes find that when students enroll into college or into university, the institutions relax so that even when a student has not obtained a pass mark, the institution relax the conditions and they allow these students to pass through from year 1 to progress to year 2 and year 3 and then year 4, and then they graduate, because the higher education institutions do not want to lose numbers. They do not want to let go of students that fail. So that is the context in which we say that it should not be easy for students, for the throughput, for students just to pass through college, even when they do not meet the exam requirements. There's also a tendency by some institutions to give marks even when a student has failed. Some of these institutions, they moderate the exam marks and they give the student a pass mark of 50+1, and that is what is making the standards of higher education in our country to go down, because the stringency which is attached to examinations is not there anymore. Once we lose that stringency for examination, then it becomes easy for students to obtain the diplomas or the degrees. We are trying to discourage this trend. We want exams to have the importance that they deserve in order to distinguish students that have failed and students that have passed. But if we allow everyone to pass, because we have made the exams process to become easy, and we are moderating the marks, exam marks, then it is not good for our higher education system. So we want higher education institutions to focus on quality, to focus on standards, to maintain the exam standards, and not just to maintain numbers, not just to maintain enrollment, to increase enrollment, to maintain numbers in order for higher education institutions to make money. So we are informing the higher education institutions to shift the focus from numbers, from enrollment, to shift the focus to quality, to exam standards that maintain the integrity of teaching and learning, so that only those students that pass, that genuinely pass, can progress from year 1 to year 2 until they graduate.
Okay, since the Higher Education Authority ranks institution of higher learning, how important is this, and what is involved in this ranking?
So the ranking, we are trying to develop a tool now for ranking our higher education institutions, and recently we have had discussions with Times Higher Education. This is an international agency that ranks universities worldwide, but we want to develop our own ranking tool for our local higher education institutions. There are three components, main components, that go into ranking. Number one is research, the research productivity of an institution. Number two is teaching and learning, and then number three is community engagement. So based on these three criteria, we'll develop a tool that will rank our higher education institutions.
Okay, so how important is the institution and academics audit that your authority carries out in ensuring quality assurance? So
the audits, we do audits in order to, number one, check, excuse me, to check for various standards that we expect higher education institutions to have. So we do audit to check the corporate structure, to check whether the institutions, they have a council, a senate. We do audits to check for the qualifications of teaching staff. Thank you. We do audits to check the infrastructure in our higher education institutions, for example, libraries, laboratories, teaching and learning equipment. We do audits to check the lecturer-student ratio. So we have several standards that we have set, and these standards are published in the Zambia guidelines for standards, and we do audits to find out whether these institutions are adhering to the various standards that we have set. And we do that in order to ensure that the education that is being provided meets the minimum standards that we have set. So from time to time, we conduct audits, incidental audits, but every year, an institution must undergo an annual audit. So every higher education institution, by law, should undergo an annual audit. And then, apart from the annual audit, we also do incidental audits. And these incidental audits are carried out based on information that we receive from time to time. For example, from whistleblowers or from any member of the public. If they alert us that an institution is suspected of wrongdoing, then we go into that institution to conduct an incidental audit for purposes of making a decision for example, maybe to deregister the institution or to relegate it from one level to another level. So we conduct annual audits and we also conduct incidental audits to counter-check the institution against the various standards that we have set.
Okay, so ensuring that there is foreign direct investment, how are you attracting the students?
Yes, so last year we had Bank of Zambia. They came to the Higher Education Authority, and we discussed with them the fact that higher education is important in attracting revenue for our country. So the internationalization of higher education is very important for balance of payments, so that when we receive students from outside, these students come into our country and they are spending money in Zambia, so they are bringing in money, and we need to take this aspect of international students very seriously, so that the more students we attract from outside, the more money our country can make, and that is important for our balance of payments support. So we think that institutions such as UNILAS, for example, recently we saw more than 30 students from Botswana coming to UNILAS. We also have other institutions like DMI. They have about 300 or so international students. University of Zambia has a very good number of international students. So Apex also has a very good number of international students. These students that come from outside to come and study in our country, a good source of revenue for our country, and that is important for our balance of payments support.
Okay, so concerning the increase of the international student coming to Zambia, how proud are you as an institution that you are able to attract international students coming through in Zambia?
So that also speaks to the quality of our higher education that we provide. If we maintain the standards of higher education in our institutions, if the quality of higher education is good, then it will be able to attract international students. So international students can only come and study in Zambia if they are assured that the standards of higher education are high. So we, on our part, we know that students that come to study from outside to study, they can only study in Zambia when they know that the programs are accredited. And many of these countries are attaching a lot of importance to the accreditation of programs. And from time to time, agencies from outside, they come to check with us. They write letters to us to find out if the programs are accredited. And if the programs are accredited, then they are able to attract international students. So the work we do here at the Higher Education Authority is important. It's very important because only those programs that we accredit can attract international students. International students cannot come to study in institutions that are not registered with us, that are not recognized by us, and international students cannot come and study in programs that are not accredited by us. So the work we do provides the assurance, the quality assurance that the programs that are being offered are good enough to attract Zambian students and good enough to attract international students.
Okay, so Professor Kazhila Chisembu, aside from the higher education hour program that will be aired, what other sensitization campaign do you have as an institution to sensitize the public?
So we do have a lot of efforts that we dedicate to stakeholder engagement. The Higher Education Authority has got 3 strategic objectives. Number 1 is quality assurance, number 2 is stakeholder engagement, and number 3 is internal organization and governance. So strategic objective 2, which is stakeholder engagement, is where the Higher Education Authority carries out radio programs to talk to the public about the work that we do. We participate also in various efforts such as the Agriculture Show, Women's Day, Public Service Day. We receive visitors also here at the Higher Education Authority, various stakeholders. They visit us and we talk to them about the work that we do. For example, we have received stakeholders such as UNZASU, University of Zambia Students Union, Copperbelt University Staff Union, Unzalaru, various organizations, various institutions. They come to visit the Higher Education Authority offices, and we talk to them, we engage with them to explain to them the work that we do. We also, from time to time, we are called upon by committees of parliament. We have been to parliament several times to explain to members of parliament about the work that we do. So we engage with various stakeholders, both locally and internationally.
ZAMCOM Radio, your trusted source for the latest news and updates from across Zambia and around the world.